Okay, kick off the next update video here. Did quite a bit of stuff. Some of it was kind of a pain in the ass, but definitely making some progress. Was supposed to get new tires to put on, but purchased them, and when the guy delivered them, he lied about the date on the tires, so had to go through a debacle and return it. Do still want to get that done. I took the bows and tarp off since they were rattling around and wasn't really complete. Kind of like how it looks, gives me a little more clearance underneath all my trees. I got 4 of the dust covers for all the brake chambers on the rear from one of the guys in the Facebook group. Thank you. I was having a really hard time finding them. I went around and got all new Glad hand seals for the front and back and put those on. We'll move into the big stuff, and I'll go over how I upgraded my air dryer. Alright, here's what I used for tools. Little extension for the impact and also for the ratchet. 17mm 9/16. This is another 17mm for the stubby ratchet. 1/2 inch extension. Flathead screwdriver. A couple various different cutters. Adjustable. 1/2 inch. 9/16. 15/16. 1 inch, 1 1/4, and 17mm, and some thread lock and tape. You might not need all these. I did a little bit of extra stuff, like I changed the bolts instead of reusing the other ones. That's why I got like 9/16. Well, 9/16 is actually used for one of the airlines, but for like the sockets and stuff, it's going to be very helpful to have an impact, because here's some of the old hardware. These are self-locking crimped nuts, so they're going to fight you all the way off. You are going to need 2 adapters still to make this work. Found out as I was going through, and you're going to hear me say this again and put some notes in the video. This is a 1/2 inch pipe thread, NPT, to a 5/8 flare. This is a 45-degree seat. You're going to need this because there's an angled one on the old air dryer. For one of the small control, you're going to need this is a 1/4 to 1/8 bushing. So here's the air dryer. This was perfectly sealed in the box and inside this and everything. NSN number 4730-01-524-78902, and the Haldex part number is N-50011-H. But upon opening this appears to be the exact connector that's on the truck, so no adapting it. And then also, I measured the distance between these bolts, this adapter plate that is on it, and they appear to be an exact match for the LMTV, at least mine. I don't know. I have the M1078. I don't know if the other variants will, but it's not like the Haldex part number that was being shared on the Steel Soldiers forum that you had to get and then notch out. This seems to be perfect. Basically, that part number or NSN number was put together exactly by Haldex and sold, so that this is like a drop-in replacement. It's also 28 volts on the heater. So I'm going to remove the old one and see if it bolts right up. Alright, got everything off. I ended up just bending this to make it easier to get off. Yeah, it looks like everything's going to be good. The only adapter you're going to need is here on the control. This is a 1/8 fitting that was coming off the bottom of the old one. That's 1/4 inch, so I got a 1/4 to 1/8 bushing. And that's going to all need to be Teflon taped. See, this is the bottom. That's where the control is. Outlet, which is where the plastic hose was going to. Inlet, which is where the more braided type hose is going to. I'm going to have to reuse these fittings, so I'm going to take them all off, clean the thread areas. Don't put Teflon tape on the side where the lines connect to, just on what's going to go back into here. And these are labeled as well, what they need to go to. And I'm going to put them in there snug, but not super tight, because once I bolt this up, I need to be able to move these a little bit And I'm a little concerned about this not quite reaching to where it needs to come in on the inlet here, but it should be okay. Alright, I got all the fittings on. I'm gonna go over and confirm that the bolt holes line up and bolt it up. Okay, bolt holes do line up. So I had to stop last night. This angled fitting didn't work out. It was going to cause too much of a kink. So I had to go get a straight one. Well, I didn't go get it. I had this laying around. I'll put a size on what exactly adapter this is in the description underneath the section for this repair. And I also needed to go get some more of these 5/8 like compression fittings, because this one was on there for so long and it was kind of over tightened. There was no way it was coming off. I also got a longer bolt. I use new hardware. As you're looking at it, the top left has a little bracket that it also clamps behind it, holding some air lines, and these were just long enough for all three, so I needed one a little bit longer. But I'm going to put all those on and we should be able to fire the truck up and test it now. I also shortened this. Alright, got everything all hooked up. The other thing I need to do was held the bulkhead fitting, and I just did like a quarter turn loosen on the fitting that the stainless steel airline attaches to. So that way it wasn't kinking, it was trying to kink at the top. I'm going to start the truck now. I doubt it's cold enough for the heater to kick in, but see if she purges and I build air, and then I'll check for leaks. Alright, well that's doing what it's supposed to do. Project's complete. I'll keep an eye for air leaks. Alright, so after a couple weeks I ended up needing to rebuild this again. If you remember back in one of my previous videos, the rebuild kit I got off of eBay had a bunch of wrong sizes in it. So I ordered the one from Midwest Military Equipment to have on hand, and this the other day failed again and started spraying everywhere. I believe what happened is after I took it on a really long drive, the heat coming off the engine caused that to deform, and I went to go lift the cabin, and I mean, it just sprayed out everywhere. Then after it cooled off, it was enough to get it up and down. So I took it off and redid it. And the Midwest kit comes with also one for over here on this side, which is good, the hydraulic fitting. The rebuild went way smoother. Everything fit tight, but it went in relatively easy compared to the other one. But the reason why I wanted to follow up with this is, one, to tell you that only use those Harbor Freight O-rings that I'd pointed out in a pinch to get you by. And also, since this all sealed up the right way, pin wasn't going in. And this is a high point, so there's air stuck in there. And then on this side, for the Allen key, 3/16. This is here for you to loosen and allow air to come out. And you probably will need to do this a couple of times. So I already loosened it to confirm that's what it's for. There is an O-ring behind there, and a bunch of bubbles and icky old hydraulic fluid came out. And I'm just going to put the cab up and down a couple of times, and I'll record next time to show the air coming out of it. I tried opening it up this side as well, and a teeny bit of bubbles came out, but a lot came out of here. And the reason why I didn't need to do that last time was probably because that O-ring, since it didn't fit tight on the inside, the air just got pushed out, but the hydraulic fluid didn't. Alright, I replaced the window cranks. This is a Dorman part. Here it is right here, 775-5501. This is like the equivalent of a Mack truck part number. The only thing that's really different is it sticks out a little bit farther. It's a little bit wider. The thread on the little screw, the flathead screw, is a M6x10 thread. You need one that's 3/4 longer. This one is 3/4 of an inch longer. I had it laying around in my hardware bin. So I'm swapping both of them out. All right, if yours isn't already broke, the way to take this off, a little flathead or something, and just pry at the knob and it'll pop out. And then this brown piece here is just sort of popped into place. Work it off. Then you got your flathead screwdriver in here. Off. You can leave the little brown spacer in there. You can see the difference in length. Match the splines up. Tighten it up. I replaced the passenger side as well. This is the one I actually bought one of these for, to make sure it would fit, because this one was in really bad shape. If you remember from previous video, I used some like random hardware to hold the knob on and all that stuff, but just got another one so that they would match. This pressure safety valve is giving me a problem again. I tried adjusting it and stuff a bunch of times. Basically what's happening is that it's not opening and staying open. So my cab air springs, my radiator fan, not working intermittently. And what I'll need to do is come up and just take this plug completely out, and it opens it just enough for the air to get in there. I've already taken this apart and serviced it once. It was leaking. I'm just going to try to replace it. This is not an easy to get part, so I got something equivalent to it in a Haldex part. The issue I'm going to have is it's not 1/2 inch like this. I think it's only 1/4 inch. I don't think that's going to be the end of the world. It may slightly reduce flow. This is not a critical part of the system over here for something that's going to need that much CFM, so I'm not worried about it. I'm going to remove this and figure out what I need for adapters and go from there. I have a whole bunch of different fittings and nipples and stuff. If not, I'll make a run to the store. Here's the tools I'm using for this project. Really big, adjustable. Some of those fittings have been on there since probably '98 when the truck was made, so they were tight. Smaller sizes for taking everything off. Brass brush for cleaning up threads in the fittings. Tape. Little screwdriver when I had to pop things apart. For the new part, it's a T20 Torx bit screwdriver that holds that. Channel locks. Phillips screwdriver for taking the old one apart in order to be able to turn it and take it off. I've already finished the project at this point, but I wanted to show you the part. It is a Haldex part. There's 2 numbers on here. I bought this off eBay without a box, but it is brand new. They said it's part 90555-400, but there's also that 17620 up top, and it's got 1/4 inch fittings and then 1/2 inch fittings around here. So depending on how you end up doing it, you're going to need to go get some adapters or change everything out. You may need to lengthen these hoses, you may not, but the reason why I'm not going to cover what adapters exactly are needed are because I had a bunch of this stuff laying around a brass scrap bin that I had, and I just pulled stuff out of that bin to make it all work for me. Tore through my bin, and this is what I came up with. It should give me enough length to meet up with the air hoses. Gonna clean everything up, use tape. I'm gonna have to take this piece off right here and wait to put this on and tighten it on one at a time. Alright, all installed. My particular situation, I had to yank on this to give it a little more slack, and I had to route this top air line above the pipe coming from the air filter. I don't think that's going to be an issue. Maybe if you end up doing this and you're going to go out and buy the fittings, Just maybe get like a longer nipple so it goes farther back and you won't have to deal with that. But now I'm just going to start the truck, fire it up, and see if we get air without fiddling with anything in the airbags and to the radiator fan. Alright, my air pressure built up and it purged. So the way I'm going to be able to tell if this is doing what it was supposed to is I would have the problem where normally when you kill power, you hear the air purge out of the fan. It would not do that. Now, sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't. Also, the cab airbags wouldn't fill up. The cab airbag springs are full, so let's see. Oh, yeah. All right. 3 times in a row, it did what it was supposed to. And well, that leak is just a air springs. But if I come under here, I'm not hearing anything leak. Well, I take that back. There is a little bit of air. I know my park brake valve is leaking. That's actually my next thing to work at. But there's nothing obvious here. Cool. Happy. That's something that had me concerned. Because if that radiator fan doesn't kick on and you're going full highway speeds, engine gets hot. So, cool. That's another fix. You can probably hear that hiss. One of my previous videos, someone pointed out to me what that is there's a vent up top for the park brake. So I brought park brake and trailer brake dash valves, and I'm going to replace those. Here's the new valves. I got them from Napa. It's a Haldex part number KN20025. Look how long it's been on their shelf. Yikes. This is the parking brake. Interesting, it's blue instead of yellow now. Every truck I've ever driven is yellow. KN20035. It's a little newer, 2017. There's not a whole lot of extra hose because I've had the little panel open where these are mounted before. Not a whole lot of extra hose. So what I'm going to try to do is get it as loose as possible, pull it out, and I'm going to mark every single fitting, disconnect, so that way I can get the valves farther out, and then I'll pull all like the brass because there's splitters and stuff like that going off these, get it all back together, and then put them on. Probably going to be a pain in the ass, but you won't be able to hear me cussing at the truck when I got it in fast forward. So try to get them out. For tools, a big Phillips head screwdriver, some channel locks, 5/8 wrenches. Stubby wrench is definitely going to be helpful on this. An adjustable, Sharpie for marking the airlines, and some pipe thread tape. All right, we messed around with trying to get these knobs off, and unlike the new ones, what it has is there's some pins that you're supposed to hammer out. We've had no luck trying to get them to move, and went to drill them, and it seems like they're hardened roll pins. We ended up just breaking these pieces of plastic off. That way we could then feed it through. I mean, I got new ones. It doesn't really matter. Since this involves breaking something, I might have Bam Bam do it.
Junk. Junk.
Bam Bam did a good job. Only broke what needed to be broke. So I'm gonna like label each one of these fittings with like a number on the nut, so I remember which way they all go. So that way I can just undo these, pull the whole valve out, and then clean these up, put them on the corresponding parts, and then put it all back together. As I thought, this is not fun at all. We did manage to get the park brake valve all the way out.
This is great. I don't know what he's talking about.
And we're working on the trailer supply. Even though that one wasn't leaking, I don't want to ever do this again, so just replacing both. All right, quick check of comparing the parts. It is good. The only real difference is instead of having that pin, it's got this little spring-loaded notch, which completely makes sense. I'm going to start with just taking these off one by one, switching them over, and I'm going to use just one thing of pipe thread tape to seal it. Battery died. last night, but we were able to finish this up. Boy, it's a big pain in the butt. Not a lot of room in there. One thing we did do was there's like a bunch of loops going from the tractor parking up to the trailer air supply, and pre-attach those and put them in there. And it's finished. Didn't solve the problem I thought it would though. Fired the truck up, took it out for a good drive, came back and parked, and you could still hear a little bit of air leaking from that vent. At least I know these are good now, and it did actually solve a slight problem that I really wasn't worried about. The tractor parking, when it was cold or you'd fire it up for the first time, it would start leaking a little bit around, and you could mess with it or kind of give it a good swift punch off and on, and then it would go away. But at least it's not doing that anymore. So I'm gonna assume that my leak is coming somewhere, maybe from a valve or something with the brake pedal not quite sealing up. Check valve maybe. I'm gonna have to go pull up a schematic of the system and trace it out and see if there's maybe something I could look at in there. While I'm sitting in this area, didn't realize it, but with the adjustable wheel, it's also telescoping. You get like maybe 1.5 inches out of it or so, which is pretty cool. When you loosen this, if you pull up, the steering wheel will also come up and down. Like if I loosen this, it'll probably drop. You'll see. It's pretty cool. I didn't realize that because I liked having the steering wheel tilted back, but I'd always hit my knees getting in. So now I can pull it up all the way, tighten it. It's going to be much more comfortable. So thanks to those in the Facebook group that pointed that out. I didn't know it.